Hello, everyone. Welcome to Desk Doodles episode 21. I'm your host, Sapna Malhotra. The other day, I was sitting and I was remembering my daughter had shared with me something about a community outreach program that she had been a part of when she was in school. And it was all about these kids on a weekly basis. They went to a government school in the vicinity of their school. And the project that they had was to teach the children of that school English. And it was a little bit of a challenge for them to find that common ground because the children of that school did not know English and the kids from this school did not know Kannada. But very soon they figured out a way how to communicate with each other. And the project that began with these kids going and teaching those kids English became a two-way path where the children from that school started teaching them Kannada. And she said every day they would give us some Kannada words and they would help us form these simple sentences. And before we went for our next class, we would quickly brush up on those words and we would go enter and we would start with those, little sentences and which could be sometimes in broken Kannada. And those kids would have a laugh and they would tell us that it was wrong and they would correct us. And then we would, rephrase those sentences. And then these kids would ask them to answer in English. And with the same confidence, those kids would also, answer them in little bit of broken sentences, falter with their formation in sentence. And when these kids would correct them, those kids would absolutely accept it. And they developed a kind of bond with each other where they both shared the learning. And which got me thinking that when we talk about education, we just feel that education is about a teacher coming and sharing her knowledge with the children, which of course is the huge chunk of imparting education. But there are so many beautiful ways, beautiful faces to imparting education. It could be sharing the knowledge among the teachers, it could be sharing knowledge among students, just like we talked about, and also the knowledge that comes from outside into the world of that child. So, to talk about all these wonderful faces, we have an amazing guest today at Desk Doodles. She's been an educator for past 22 years. She's been spearheading schools for more than 7 years now. She's won the Fulbright Award for the Educator. She is the principal of Delhi Public School, Electronic City, Bangalore. Please welcome Miss Anupama Ramachandran. Welcome to Desk Doodles, Anupama.
Thank you so much, Sapna, and wish you a very, very bright, happy morning. It's a pleasure to be here with you on Desk Doodles.
I'm so looking forward to our conversation, Anupama. Whenever we've interacted, I've valued your thoughts and your views so much. So I'm really looking forward to sharing this morning with you. But before we jump into our conversation, I would like you to tell our viewers and tell me a little bit more about the passion that drives Anupama and the journey that has been for you and where you are today. So please share that with us.
Thank you. Thank you for asking that question, which, many times many people do not know how I even became a teacher. So, me becoming a teacher was very much by chance and not by choice. Throughout my educational journey, I never once thought, I mean, dream is a very far off thing to speak about. I never even thought that I want to be a teacher. Not that I did not have role models when I was a student, but I never thought that that was a profession for me, and I had many other things that I wanted to be. So it so happened that, when I was still very young, and then I had my son, my elder one, and it so happened that a neighbor of mine, I don't know for what reason, she said, in my son's school, the social science teacher has gone on maternity leave and they're desperately looking for somebody to be there till she comes back. Would you be interested in the position? And I said, first and foremost, social studies is not my subject, and no, I don't think I can teach. She said, why don't you just give it a try? So that is how it all began. And this was in the year 1990. So, really, really a long time back. And then And like I was there for a very short period of time, and it so happened that when it was time for me to go, the students actually literally cried and said that, "Ma'am, is there no way that you can stay back?" So then I really felt that if I just did it without even giving it much thought, and I knew I was there for a short period of time, if I could make an impact on the children. I don't know whether they learned any social science, but they loved me as a teacher. I don't know for what. So that was when I gave it a thought, a serious thought, that why not be a teacher? And it so happened that because of my husband's nature of job, we had to move cities, and I realized that teacher's position was something that would be available to whichever city I went. So somehow things fell in place, and I got to be a teacher in Delhi, Mumbai, Trivandrum, Mysore, finally settled down in Bangalore. And I have taught various classes, right from kindergarten to senior secondary. There have been instances where I've even taught graduate students also and postgraduate students also. So it has been a varied, diverse experience. But one thing I can tell you, that more than me being teaching, it has been learning all the way. And I'm still learning. Every day is a new day for learning, a new day for fresh hopes, fresh beginnings. So this has been the amazing journey, Sapna, of me as an educator.
Absolutely amazing, and I think you just were meant to be, and you have made an impact on so many children through this journey. And I think you're in the perfect place that you had to be. And when you say that your diverse experience, Anupama, I think that resonates with me, because I myself have taught from the kindergarten to students in the master's program. So I think what comes out, I think the most strong as a message is that you just need to be one with them, no matter what the age. And if you're, you can relate to whatever age group they are, and they will accept you with open arms. And like you said, they just loved you for being a teacher, and I'm sure they'll always remember you for that.
Thank you so much, Sapna. Like I told you, I've been teaching from quite a long time. There are so many of my students who are even getting married and they're having children of their own.
Right.
And it is so gratifying when they send me messages and say that, "Ma'am, we really wish our children would also have you as their teacher." So somewhere I think, that we are contributing, we are making an impact. See, the calling of a teacher should always be recognized by the educator, that we have been empowered or we have been blessed to touch lives. I don't think any other profession could make such an impact. So I actually experience it, on Teachers Day. I'm flooded with messages from my old students, and they just have to say that, "Ma'am, if we have to think of a teacher, it is you amongst all the others." So I feel somewhere that, there is a job satisfaction, and at the end of the day, you just feel happy and blessed that you were able to bring about a positive change in somebody's life.
Absolutely. What a beautiful, positive message, Anupama. And definitely, I think that speaks a lot. And that speaks to what we are going to talk about also today. So, the big question today, Anupama, on Desk Doodles is that how can sharing knowledge amongst each other, create, ever evolving teaching and learning communities? So that's the big question for us today. But let's take baby steps and move up towards that picture, and let's create it by first addressing the first question: is what do we understand by knowledge share? In your opinion, what do we know about knowledge share?
Yeah, so Sapna, when you go onto the internet and you put in knowledge sharing there, you are intimidated by the definitions that come up, right? So many of us as educators shy away from this concept of knowledge sharing itself because of what the internet has to tell us. So with all due respects to the knowledge that is on the internet out there for all of us, what I understand and believe knowledge sharing is nothing but giving and taking of what one has in the field of education, right? So that itself is knowledge sharing. All of us are here as teachers because of knowledge imparted to us by somebody, right? At some level, at some forum, through some course, at some point in time, all of us received knowledge. That is the reason why we are here as educators. So when we think of knowledge sharing, it is just very simple for me. It is now, what are you ready to give back? Are you going to give back to your students? Are you going to give back to your fellow teachers? Are you going to give back to your school? Are you going to give back to your community? Are you going to get bigger and give back to your country and of course the world as a whole? So knowledge sharing, according to me, Sapna, is giving back to the community and to some extent taking it in also on a regular basis, because as you rightly mentioned, the education community is a very dynamic community which is evolving and updating itself on a daily basis. It is not every month or every year. It is on a daily basis. It is evolving. There are so many new things that are happening across the globe. There are so many innovations that are happening in the field of learning and teaching. So even updating yourself is knowledge sharing. So this is what I think about knowledge sharing.
Absolutely. And, sharing that knowledge could be in so many ways, right? I mean, it could be sharing of experiences, just like what you shared with me. It could make me, think, look within, get inspired, and do something, right? So you shared something with me, which I could use it in my own capacity to empower myself in a different way. So sharing of experiences, sharing of wisdom, sharing of what we call tacit knowledge, right? You're sharing how you played an instrument for that matter. And explicit knowledge, like you said, is all around us, which is so easily transferable to somebody else. But when you're sharing something like this, what your experience has been and what you learned, I think that is so much more powerful than other knowledges as well. So coming from there, like you touched upon, as an educator, how do you think that, when we share our learning, when we share our knowledge with each other as teachers, how does that make us a better teacher? How can it do that?
Yeah, thank you. Thank you for that question, Sapna. So, like I told before, we have to understand that education now, like if you think of the kind of education you're giving to students today, you are preparing them for an unknown, uncertain future that nobody knows of, right? I think 10 years, from now, when we think of times ahead, we really don't know how people are going to be sitting and having a conversation, like how you and I are having a conversation on Zoom. Did anybody think of Zoom even before 2018? We did not know what Zoom was, right? But today, you see, all of us know how to set up meetings. You are somewhere, I am somewhere, we can share information. So, education is preparing the generation for the future. So, future is strong, it is in good hands only if we give 100%. It cannot be if you are holding back something. So, as educators, as teachers, we have to understand that as teachers, as educators, we have to continuously engage ourselves not only in building content but also sharing it with someone. Otherwise, the knowledge that you're building is of no use, right? Who's going to use it? Are you going to just keep it to yourself, use it to a few hundreds and thousands of students you're going to use, or are you thinking of using it for the larger benefit of the society? So, as educators, the first thing that all of us have been told to do is to build a spirit of service, right? Seva manobhav, they say. What is seva? Seva is doing something without expecting anything in return, right? It is selfless service. So, knowledge sharing is a part of the selfless service that every educator should indulge in, not just engage in. It should be an indulgence, like how you want to have a chocolate, right? When you want to feel good, sharing knowledge should give you that feeling of happiness. That when you tell some 10 people something that you know, something that worked for you, something that did not work for you, also, it should give you a immense sense of happiness that I have educated a few more people around me. And believe me, Sapna, there are so many people who want to know what you know. Many times we think, that what do I know to share? It is not like that. Right now, you asked me, ma'am, what is your experience as a teacher? I'm sure many of them would like to know me as a person also. That is also knowledge sharing. Where did she get this much of experience? What exposure does she have that she's talking like this? So, every little thing that we have to share is knowledge. And a teacher has to think that just like how she is obliged to handle students in her class, she is also obliged to share what she has, not only within her school, but even outside of her school. So, teachers, to grow, you cannot stagnate yourself, because it has been years since I did my master's in English literature. Does it mean to say that I just stop about it, or do I keep reading about the new authors who are coming in? Way back when I did my master's in English literature, there were not too many writers for children in English literature. But today you can see I have a whole lot of authors whose books can fill up my entire library. So if I do not know, or somebody did not educate me about this, I would still be telling my children to read only Western authors with whom they cannot relate, right? So it's so important for us to know. And what I know, I'm telling the others also, that do you know about this author? Do you know that Sudha Murthy has written so many stories for children? So as an educator, if you want to grow yourself, you need to share what you have. That is how you grow as an educator, you grow as a person. And most importantly, it is a key to the development of professional learning communities. If you want your community to be dynamic, you have to keep sharing the knowledge.
Absolutely. And I think that was beautifully said, that sense of service that is behind all your, teaching. And I somewhere also feel, Anupama, that, that when teachers come together, they collaborate and they work together. They're not, they need to understand that they're divvying up their responsibilities according to their strengths. Sometimes unknowingly, you're dividing that work and you say, okay, I'll take this part of it. And the reason that you opt to take that part is because you know that's your strength. And so when you divide that work amongst each other, when you set the table at the end of it and everybody brings in back the work that they've done, it's a table that is full of perfect things because each one has picked it according to their strengths, and then you put it together. And I think that work that you create when you have done it together is not only like speaks about the quality of that work, but also the quantity, because when you divide the responsibilities amongst yourself as teachers, you get more time to add value to what you're creating, right? And so I think at the end of the day, you're giving a more amount of uh, quality work to the child who is, at the end of the receiving end, right? And he's benefiting more by you dividing the work amongst yourself. And also somewhere I feel, like you said, that when we work together we grow together, right? And uh, I feel that constructive feedback, what we talk about amongst teachers, and most of the time we feel, not only teachers, I think in general, when we talk about constructive feedback, it's very difficult for people to take that feedback, because it always adds a little bit of that fear. Oh my god, is that true? And it brings down your confidence. But when you start, I think when we start these practices of teachers working together, collaborating together, you create an atmosphere where everybody starts getting a little more comfortable hearing that, okay, maybe it might be good, but I can look at the other picture also. Maybe that might give you a better idea of things. What do you feel?
Absolutely, Sapna. This has to happen at the micro level, right? So I would like to quickly share practice that we have in our school. Like I told you, our school is very young, 7 years old. Right from the year one, we introduced a practice amongst the teachers. Every week teachers meet for something called as a weekly meeting. So this is just for me to tell them what I have to convey, and for them also to convey whatever has happened through the week. Classes went well, we had an issue with this child, we had an issue with this infrastructure, whatever it is. So what I told them was that this meeting is only for 30 minutes. So we should not think that this went on for the entire day. These meetings are just for 30 minutes. And what we do is we start off this meeting with 10 minutes of what we call as a public speaking session, right? So we allot teachers for this at the beginning of the year, so they know when is their session coming up throughout the year. For the entire year we have, and all the teachers get a chance to do this. Sometimes they even get two chances also. So what happens during this is they have to select a subject of their choice which they're very passionate about, not any random subject, something that they really feel very strongly about. And it can be anything to do with education and also not with education. There are many of our teachers who are very passionate about cooking, they're very passionate about yoga, they're very passionate about organic way of life, they're very passionate about art. So anything that they're passionate about, they need to speak about that for 10 minutes. So we call it a public speaking session. And there is no correction, there is no feedback. We don't tell them that you should have spoken like this, your body language was not right. We just listen, and we just appreciate them, that thank you so much for bringing this forth. Why do we do this? This is done so that, see, primarily this is of course to build the confidence in the teachers, but the other main intention of this is to explore and identify the potential that this staff member has. Many of us, in the run of things on a daily basis, we tend to ignore, or sometimes we just don't have the time to recognize these things in teachers. So it's so important for us to know the passion of the teacher, because instead of giving her a job that she doesn't care much about, if we give her a duty that she's really passionate about, we can be sure that she will give her 200% and she will contribute something. So this exploring the teacher's potential and giving them a platform to share. And once we come to know that the teachers are good, I always encourage them to write an article, because today there are so many platforms that accept literature from teachers. So I tell them, you write, I will send it, I will get it published, I will send it to Times NI edition, I will send it to this magazine. So we take the trouble to make the teachers feel that they are worth something, because believe me, every teacher has something more than just teaching to offer. So it is the duty of educational administrators to identify the potential in the teachers and make them feel good. There are so many teachers who have come and told me that, ma'am, we never knew that we had it in ourselves. It was you who identified. I do not take credit for this because it was already there. I just had to do a little bit of scratching the surface. So I really feel, Sapna, that we should take it as a responsibility. We have to take out time, and it is possible for that to integrate into our very busy schedules, right? 30 minutes a week is something that we can put to bring out this potential, so that the teachers, you need to build confidence in them that I have something to give. So it is happening, it's a reality, and it can happen anywhere in any ecosystem.
Absolutely. And now that you have shared it, Anupama, I think our viewers, our listeners, they can totally relate to it, that if somebody can think it, somebody can do it, then somebody can learn from it and then apply it somewhere else also. So that, and I think the concept that you used was so beautiful, that you created that environment where the teacher started feeling comfortable to share something. And like you said, that you gave that child, the teacher, the topic what they want, left it to them to speak about. So that again, when we talk about knowledge share, that again is a very important part here, that that teacher took that time to raise that bar, right? She brought herself up another level, because that's something that she's, feels that that's her strength, and she can, bring it up another notch. And then she went ahead and shared it with others. So it was, empowering yourself and sharing that knowledge and helping others also learn from it. So that's so beautiful. I think knowledge sharing amongst teachers, I think, is the key to ever growing, teachers. So moving from there, like we are talking about, how we create that atmosphere them for them to be comfortable. But what, in your opinion, Anupama, are those little inhibitors or those little, roadblocks which, hamper that flow of knowledge amongst them? And how can we motivate teachers? Like one of the ways that you said is, of course, creating that atmosphere. But what do you think are those inhibitors that, stop them from sharing those knowledges?
There are many reasons why teachers shy away from this whole concept of knowledge sharing. And primarily, Honestly, I think it is because many of us think that knowledge sharing is just giving. It is not so. Knowledge sharing is also taking, it's also absorbing. So you have to be open to taking in new knowledge so that you will be able to innovate, build on that, and again reshare it. So I think the first step is to be a part of a lot of conversations where you are taking in new knowledge and new skills. That is number one. Number two is there are some genuine reasons where some teachers do not have the resources for knowledge sharing. They have a whole lot in them, but they really do not know which are the avenues, which are the forums where I can actually go and share it with a few people. And in many schools, I'm very sorry to say, they do not encourage knowledge sharing. There is something that is given to them, and they say that you have to restrict yourself to this. There's no need for you to divert or add on or innovate. So there are some, intimidating ways of working like that, where teachers are not expected to do more than what is given to them. So that is another reason. And another, something that I feel very sorry about is that all of us as educators somewhere underestimate ourselves and our potential. We always feel that who would want to learn from me? Everybody knows this. I mean, what is there to share? But that is not true. I teach grade 11 and grade 12 English. And when I was teaching one of the lessons, and I was exploring on the YouTube how other teachers have taught this, I just saw that one of the teachers had used this app called the Google Earth to teach that lesson. And I said, wow, I never thought of this. And I just had to bring that into my class. And my children were so amazed at having to use this application. And it made the learning so much more interesting for them. So we always underestimate ourselves, and we always feel that what I have is not worth it. So I want every educator to tell himself or herself every day, I have something to give. What is it today? So that is very important. And lastly, Sapna, I feel, this is a common myth that a lot of people have, that they feel that giving is reducing. Delhi Public School Electronic City has a way of doing things. If I share this with others, they will become like us, they will become competition to us. But I personally do not believe that, because there is something that you can do over and above what you're already doing, right? So I believe that giving is multiplying. The more you give, the more you have to do. And once you've given away, you know that now I have to do something new for myself, right? So that is a way of building on what you already have. And we should always think that if you give what you have, it will help some student in some part of the world. It will help some teacher in some part of Bangalore. It will help some teaching community in some part of India. So we should develop a more giving attitude and not think about the consequences of what is going to happen, because the consequence of giving is always good. So I feel these are a few reasons why people hold back from giving
So true.
and
And I
sharing
think
knowledge.
another, inhibitor that I have felt has been there. I've been an educator all my life as well. And I feel as teachers, sometimes we feel that, like you said, that if I give away my knowledge, I won't have anything left of me. And which is not really, it's absolutely not the case, because when you share with someone, like if you're sitting on a table and sharing with maybe two or maybe 10 teachers, everybody's sharing and you're taking back so much more. And what, like the knowledge that you've shared, whether you're telling them how you did it, but still how you do it in front of your students, and how they react to what you have done is going to always be your own thing. It's personal to you, so that nobody can take away from you. But sharing that knowledge, if it's going to benefit 100 more students, I think at the end of the day, it's not a competition among teachers. The whole, I think the principle behind being a teacher is that you're going to empower a student. You're going to give knowledge to the learner. And if you're able to do that by sharing amongst yourself as teachers, I think that's the it's like setting a chain reaction into motion, and then every teacher sharing, going ahead, and all the kids around us can be so much more empowered by this knowledge share.
Rightly pointed out, if we are ready to share, this can somewhere tackle the issue of bringing in equity in education also,
Absolutely,
right?
absolutely.
That we are blessed to be in the place we are. We have very progressive managements. We have very empowering infrastructures. What about all the children who do not have this, right? So how do you actually take care of this? Do you have to do a fancy CSR activity to give something? I don't think so. On a daily basis, you can always think that how do I share what I have with others? I can recently share something with you. We have a full-fledged infirmary in our school. We have a full-fledged ambulance in our school, and a member board of management, Dr. Masood Ali Khan. He is a practicing doctor, and he felt so guilty that our nurses and our ambulances are not being used when there is such a crunch for these resources. And he even wrote to the concerned people and he said, we are ready to open our school as a primary COVID care center because our infrastructure is not being used now. So, we have to be a little more giving like that. And he told that anybody can use any of our resources. You just ask us. Very recently, we conducted a vaccination drive in our school also for our support staff and staff members. So it is all about sharing what we have with the others, because there are many who are not privileged to have what we have. So we should not take it for granted, nor should we keep it all to ourselves.
Absolutely.
The
Yeah.
education is a social obligation, and we have to do everything to ensure that it reaches maximum number of stakeholders as possible.
And I think like motivating our teachers, when we were talking about creating that atmosphere for them, I feel like little steps, like if we suppose like you have a sharing day on a weekly basis, and then you have once you've expanded sharing to the community around you, you have a sharing day once a month, and then you have we have annual music days, and we have annual days to showcase talent. Why can't we have an annual day where we showcase the impact that sharing has made on the schools in the vicinity, or amongst schools outside our own vicinity. So I think that brings out a lot of encouragement for teachers to go out and proactively be a part of that knowledge share. So that's talking about the teachers. So we let's get to the receiver of this education, and let's go to the student now. And I think that I want to ask you, how do you think that sharing knowledge amongst students themselves, like I talked about right in the beginning when I was sharing an incident that my daughter shared with me long years back. And so when students share with each other, how do you think they become more empowered and become better learners?
Yeah, so what your daughter did, I must congratulate her for that.
Oh, yes.
And she was actually very blessed to have that experience while at school, right? So sorry, Sapna. The thing is that when the teachers are doing something, it is automatically imbibed by the students also. So somewhere we have to realize that if the management, it percolates down to the staff members, it is just a natural progression that it comes down to the students also. So somewhere you are setting up a school culture, you are setting up an environment that's conducive for these kind of activities.
Very,
So the students also catch on from there, and over the years we have done several such community engagement programs. Year on year, we are always looking out for opportunities, and we need not wait for people to come and request us. You just have to read the daily newspaper. There are so many opportunities for you to say that this is where we can help. How do we get in touch with them and tell them that we can help them? So I would like to quickly quote one or two projects of ours. So in our school we have a Rotary Interact Club also. So the children are active. They have one project every month, and these projects are very small. Like last year they had a project called Fistful to Mouthful, where they requested their fellow students, no teacher was involved. This is completely driven by the students. They requested all their fellow classmates that you just have to bring a fistful of, a particular rice or dal. There were certain things that they had told you just have to bring a fistful, and you have to put it into a large container that we have kept in the school. So when the entire school did this, we had nearly 100 kgs of food grains to be donated to someone. And they themselves identified an orphanage which is on Sarjapur Road. They went there, and it was not that we just sent it. They personally went there as a team. They gave it to them, they entertained them for a day. And we should not feel a sense of entitlement or some kind of, that we have done this for you. The whole idea of knowledge is to do it for our happiness. So we have to build it into children that when you're giving it, you are getting happiness.
Absolutely.
So the children have experienced this. And on two occasions, they have been part of a crowdfunding project that they've done. And on one occasion, they collected nearly 8 lakhs for cataract surgeries to be conducted for the elderly people who could not afford it. And they actually went to the place where surgeries were being done, and they spent a day with the people who were beneficiaries of this. So that real happiness was there. They were part of one, collecting money through crowdfunding for midday meals for government schools. So our children actually went to the school and served the food to these children so that they knew where their money went. And we also before the pandemic was there, our senior children were visiting the government school in Bettadasanapura once every week. And when they went there the first week, they did not know what to do there. But I told them, when you go there, why don't you conduct a kind of an informal survey and see where we can help? So they took up 4 projects. They taught the children functional English. They taught the children to play some musical instruments. They helped them play some games which the children had never played. And they also helped them with educating them about menstrual hygiene, and also setting up urinals which did not consume a lot of water. So they were able to do this in one academic year. And on another occasion, some of our children took up a summer project where they developed content for a government school, software content, because government schools have a lot of hardware assistance from companies. Not too many people actually create lessons for them because it is all in Kannada medium or some other reason. So our children took it up with another NGO. They took it up and they created content for these children, beautiful content, in whatever way they can. So what I'm trying to tell you, Sapna, is that these children have to be given this feeling that even you can help, because many of us think we'll help only when we are adults, when we have lots to give, that is when we'll start helping. It is not so. Every child who brought a fistful of food grains felt so happy that it fed another child at least once, one lunch or one meal or whatever. So you have to give this sense of happiness to this child and make them realize that even they can help. So from there, you can always go on to peer learning. There is a child who's not so good with academics. You can make a peer kind of ecosystem where they help, a buddy system. So it can move on to even academics also, where we have a system where they are ready to help each other, so that the entire class moves as a team. So I feel that it is so important for us to set up this culture.
Absolutely. And I think, Anupama, first of all, I salute you for the work that your students are doing and the way you are inspiring them to move on this path. It's really creditable, because so early on, for children to develop that feeling of empathy, I would have come to this part a little later in our conversation, but you brought it up, and it's so inspiring me to talk about it, because I feel that when we talk about, like we said, sharing is not just giving. It is at the same time, without you realizing, you are getting so much in return. And like these children, when they went and worked with the children in the government schools, or when they went and help those senior citizens get those operations done, I'm sure they came back so satisfied and so happy. Because I remember my daughter telling me through as part of that program, and she said that the program was just about us going to teach them English, but it became a two-way path. And it was so interesting how, and it was a very happy time whatever they spent there. And she said we would talk, we would play games. And I think the biggest reason why that knowledge share among children is so much easier is because there is a sense of informality between the two. There is a lot of a friendship that kind of develops. There is no fear of being judged because it's just on the same platform. You're talking, you're laughing. Even if you make a mistake, you're correcting each other in a very informal way. And I think that platform by itself speaks a lot about sharing knowledge so easily. And I think when we talk about students, we have this huge pool of students who graduate and move on, our alumni, right? And they are such a huge resource that every school can tap into, when we are talking about educating our children and sharing of knowledge among students. So they have just graduated, entered the real world, and we can always bring those students back, or in the form of the parent pool that we have, the whole resource of knowledge. So what do you think about that, Anupama?
You have touched upon a big resource, Sapna, when we talk about knowledge sharing, because alumni of any institution, they have their passion to giving is more because they have received from the institution. So it is more, I would say, personal. The whole experience is more endearing because they have been stakeholders of this institution and they know what is it that will make this institution better. Somewhere we all have to accept that there is a lot of room for improvement in our
It's
systems.
always, yes.
Who better than our students to know what was lacking? So I of course, in the school that I am in now, we are yet to establish our alumni base because my first batch of 12th graders are going to pass out the following year. So we are yet to establish that, but in the previous schools that I have been in, there have been amazing contributions by alumni in the form of educating the children of the school when careers are concerned, because children have moved out of their schools and they have finished their education and they've started working in different fields. So they have come back as career counselors for the children, and the children love it when their seniors are coming and telling them, hello, I'm a photographer, and what would you like to know from me? Because I can bring in a professional photographer who will tell them everything, but then there is something that is not very close or something that is very connected. Whereas if a senior comes and tells them that, I am a photographer and today you can ask me anything, that is, I feel, a better and effective way of career counseling. And I know a lot of alumni associations which have donated even parts of infrastructure, where they have come from not so very elite schools or schools that have very good infrastructures. But after the alumni have gone out and they have become something in life, as a way of gratitude for what the school gave them, they have donated parts of infrastructure, like a playground or maybe a science lab or a computer lab. So there are many ways in which these students can help us. And of course, a school that is connected with their alumni, I always feel, is a very evolved setup. If they want to come back to the school, what more can you ask for as a school? That they just want to come and see how the school is doing. Ma'am, is there anything we can do for you? So there are students of my other schools who always keep asking me that, ma'am, is there something we can do? I have actually scheduled a session with a student of mine who's a data scientist, because we all know that big data is the future. Everything is going to be based on big data, is what they say. So I have called him to come in and talk to our children, because he's out there and he can just inspire many people and he can help them also with the authentic information. So I really think, Pooja, that Sapna, I don't know why I'm calling you Pooja over and over again. Sorry, Sapna. So Sapna, I think that it is an amazing resource, and we should put in some effort to create a database of our alumni, keep in touch with them, and find out ways in which they can come back to school in whatever way and keep helping us become a better institution.
Absolutely. And I think, Anupama, I personally feel that, it's not that huge a task because, like how I envision, I feel that, every lesson that we teach our children, whether we are teaching environment or we are teaching about wildlife, we can always connect that lesson to an experiential learning for the child. It could be stepping out, or it could also be in the form of you could get an alumni, because with the alumni there is a personal connect, because that person has been a part of the school, so there is already that connection, the students feel. And when that person comes and talks, suppose he's an environmentalist and I'm doing a chapter on pollution or something, and when that person comes and talks, I'm sure out of my 30, one person would be inspired to later on become an environmentalist. Like, so I already feel that I've done a little bit of that job. And the next time when I'm teaching wildlife, if I have a wildlife photographer as my alumni or in the parent pool, I definitely need to, bring that person in to inspire my student. And then I have logged one wildlife photographer for the future. So I feel that if as teachers or as school, the administration, right in the beginning of the year, for every topic, if we have one person, put there a name, because the pool is so huge. I'm sure we have so many environmentalists and so many photographers amongst those, or artists or doctors. And I think what more, what a better way to make education come alive for children and inspire them to be that.
Yeah, absolutely, Sapna. And you mentioned another relevant stakeholder who can be a resource, who are the parents, right? So I think next to the teachers, it is the parents who can contribute so much when it comes to knowledge sharing, because we have parents from so many diverse fields. So as a school, what we do is in our school almanac itself, we have a couple of pages where parents should write their vocation and whether they're willing to be a part of the school administration. Would they like to contribute? Would they like to volunteer? And on previous occasions, Sapna, we have used parents also. Parents have told like they're interested in baking. So we've had a mother who came and conducted classes for our children in the hobby club where we have cooking without fire. So there are parents who have told that in case there is a teacher who's absent for a long period of time, we are ready to teach English, we are ready to teach math, we are ready to teach science. So on earlier occasions, we have made use of parents who have been willing to contribute, willing to volunteer in many ways. And many times there are a lot of parents who volunteer when our children go out on field trips also,
Right.
because when we go out,
Yeah.
so many people have to go to take care of children. Many parents have told that they are willing to accompany the children as escorts when if there are some children who need more attention, there are parents who have volunteered and say that we will go with them, ma'am. So parents again are a very very important source for knowledge sharing, and they come in with a whole body of experience. So we have doctors, we have homemakers, we have, like you said, environment enthusiasts. So we have people from so many fields who can come and help us with this. And it also develops that bond, right? Because it's so important for the home and school to connect. So and it cannot always be formal through parent teacher meetings and
Absolutely.
notices. It has to be on informal occasions like this also. And thankfully, we are blessed with a parent community who are always willing to contribute, always willing to cooperate, always willing to understand why we did this. So I think that it is so important to feel that parents are our allies. They are here to understand us. The more we distance them, the more they tend to not understand us. So if we want them to be supportive stakeholders, we should involve parents in this concept of knowledge sharing.
Absolutely, because Anupama, I think parents are the first teachers that a child has, and that teaching never stops. As a parent, you never stop teaching your child. And I think as a parent, you never stop learning also, because as your children grow, your knowledge also grows. You learn so much from them. And I think that's why when we talk about school is such a ecosystem where everybody is so important. The child, the parent, and the school, they do need to function together. And so when we were talking, in fact, when we were talking about inhibitors earlier, Anupama, there was one little thing I think we missed out on, was that earlier we used to feel, the distances were so much. How do you get across to somebody? If I want to share, or I want to have a meeting with someone, I want to get guidance from someone, you have to travel. But now, because of the pandemic, I think with this virtual platforms, everybody's become savvy with that. All the teachers had to instantly upgrade themselves to this new age learning. And so now it's not only about local. We can just tap into the whole global resource of knowledge. There are educators abroad who we can ask for guidance, or we can share our ideas with. So I think the knowledge share has become bigger than before as well.
You are spot on, Sapna. I keep telling my teachers, now you have no excuse for not sharing what you have, right? So there are many things which I always say that you have to be thankful for the pandemic, because of course it did pose a lot of challenges, and many of them had to face hardships, but at the same time it has opened doors to so many opportunities, right? We are able to explore so many potential. And you're right, many of them say that we are not tech savvy. I do not take that for an answer. All of us know how to use a smartphone. All of us are on WhatsApp, right? So you cannot say you're not tech savvy. If you know how to receive, how to send messages on WhatsApp, you are as tech savvy as needed to be. So every teacher should make technology an enabler. We should make that our friend and see how we can use it for professional development. And also we have to make social media platforms. All of us are on Facebook, we are on Insta, we are on Twitter, we are on WhatsApp. So we have to keep telling ourselves that today, what did I use this for? And at the end of the day, there should be one reason where you say that I used it to share something that is useful to others. And like you rightly mentioned, I am also a member of so many global community of educators. And if you are able to tap onto these open resources which are available for free, there's no cost to that. It makes your life so easy. Like for example, tomorrow, let's say I'm teaching a topic on adjectives to a grade 5 student. You just have to type worksheets on adjectives, you'll get 1,000 of them. So I always keep telling my own teachers, there's no need to reinvent the wheel. Somebody's already invented it. Know about it, get it, and use it. Right? So what you can do is, with the time that you saved in making a worksheet on adjective, you can build new content, something that is not available. You can prepare and you can share. So it's all about giving and taking and sharing. So I think that technology is an enabler, and we have to use it like that to share the resources and also make use of what is available out there.
Absolutely. And Anupama, like when you were talking about it, when you were reaching out to educators abroad. So, last a few days back, I had a conversation with Fridolin and Beiser, who's at Art Center College of Design in California. And he was my son's professor 2 years back. And when my son took that class, and it was on creative strategies. And my son would come and tell me all about the class, because I'm anyways very enthusiastic and very passionate about bringing creativity in, and he would share each and every detail about that class with me. And I already was a fan of this professor there. And then a few weeks back, I told my son, I said, can you connect me to him, send me the link on LinkedIn. So I connected with him, and he agreed to have this conversation with me. And we had such a wonderful time sharing our thoughts on a topic which was passionate. I was as passionate as he was about it. And I think we shared on so many levels. So that's why I feel that with this, during this pandemic, and we all getting so, I think accepting this virtual platform as a learning enabler that you call it. I think there is no limits to how far we can go with our learning. And whether it's our children, whether it is our peers as teachers or educators abroad, I think there is such a huge pool of knowledge that we can all tap into. And finally, we are going to empower our children. And I think that's what every teacher wants.
You're right, Sapna. And I myself, I believe that every educator should be an eternal learner.
Absolutely.
The day you stop learning, you stop being an educator. So, in this pandemic, I got the time to involve myself with a whole lot of learning, and I've already finished off 5 certificate courses, MOOCs I have done, and currently I am pursuing 2 more, and all of them are connected to my area of interest. So I think that teachers have no excuse now. It is free of cost. You need not pay for these courses, and they are being offered by the most reputed universities across the globe. So I'm just saying that the entire world is your oyster, and you just can choose what is the pearl I want to make a beautiful necklace for yourself. And our students also have been doing a lot of collaborative learning. They're undertaking a lot of collaborative learning projects. They have done collaborative projects with school in the United States of America. They've done it with schools in Australia. They've done it with schools in Bangladesh. So we are always looking for schools who are willing to collaborate with us, and we take a common topic of in common interest to both of us, and we have had amazing learning experience, and we have involved our parents also, parents and students and teachers here, parents and students and teachers there. Just
Amazing.
imagine what a beautiful experience that would have been. And very empowering subjects we have had, topics and themes. Children, we there was a year when California was going through water crisis. So we did a project on rainwater harvesting, so amazing learning experiences. And children living here in Bangalore, there's no reason why they need not know what is happening in California, or let's say in Australia or in Bangladesh, because it's so easy to connect with them. And at your convenience, you can have these interactions and conversations. So I feel that for knowledge sharing, Sapna, the first thing is you have to explore what are the opportunities that are present. Then after that, you have to plan, you have to implement. If you do that, you will see that right from the level of planning, lesson planning, implementation, assessments, remedial classes, how to handle children with special needs, every level will see a lot of innovation, and you will be doing it so much better than you're doing it the previous year.
Absolutely. And Anupama, when you're talking about all these topics, I wanted to just share that when I started doing desk doodles, when I started this podcast, and the reason behind it was to have conversations with people who are ready to share. And this has been my most wonderful learning experience, in my life, because I've gotten to talk to such amazing people, like you said about we had conversations on ADHD, we had conversations on entrepreneurial learning, we had conversations on progressive learning and Montessori way, and today we are talking about knowledge share. So I think this sharing of knowledge is such a wonderful way of enriching yourself, empowering yourself, and I think somewhere creating a more empathetic environment around our education system. We talk about empathy in education, and this is sharing is the most beautiful way of bringing that in, whether for teachers or for children, and somewhere building a very sustainable education system for ourselves.
I completely agree with you, Sapna, on that. That knowledge sharing is not just sharing of lessons in chemistry or psychology or English. It is about sharing experiences. It's about sharing stories. It's about sharing your time also, sharing your success, sharing your failures. There is something to learn through everything. If you fail, you realize that what you did wrong. And if you share that, somebody will not make that mistake again, right? Sometimes you have your aha moments also, and you have your oho moments also. So it's about sharing anything that comes up in your life as a teacher, something that happened in your personal life. Many of us are not able to balance our, responsibilities at home and at work. You can always share them. How you plan your day? How do you make a timetable? How do you, do a little bit of prep work the previous day so that the next day morning you're not so harassed when you're leaving for school, right? Everything contributes to making a better educator, and all of us can contribute something. It's just that each and every educator should take a minute and sit back and say, what do I do well? And if I share this, I think it is going to help someone somewhere across the globe, not maybe in your school, maybe not in your country also, somewhere out there, there is somebody who is going to learn from you.
Absolutely. So true and such a beautiful message, Anupama. Thank you so much for sharing these thoughts with us, your experiences with us, because I think when all those experiences that you shared with us are really going to inspire, that feeling of service, that thought of service. And that on that note, I think that's a beautiful thought that I want to leave this conversation on. And thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much, Sapna. It was a pleasure. And I would like to congratulate you on this initiative, Desk Doodles, because this is the first step towards knowledge sharing, right? Inviting somebody to share whatever they are interested in. That is a beautiful concept that you've come up with. I wish Desk Doodles and you all the very best in your future endeavors. Let the conversations continue. Let the knowledge sharing happen day on day. Thank you so much for having me here.
Thank you. Thanks a
It's
lot,
been an
Anupama.
absolute pleasure.
Thank you. It's been my pleasure, such a privilege, and wishing all your students and all your teachers and you a great year. And I'm sure with you at the helm of things, you're going to drive it to success always. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much for your kind words.